The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Howard Strauss. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. And I want everyone to know that this is our first educational webinar of 2014. Actually, it's our first webinar period. So we're hoping to have, and we will have these scheduled about every other month, possibly once a quarter. And for those of you that may not know me, my name is Howard Strauss. I'm an attorney in Tampa Bay, Florida. Our office is located in Oldsmar. And this year, we're celebrating 25 years in business as Strauss Law Firm. We have 3 attorneys and 5 support staff. And the point and the purpose of this today is to provide education for our friends and clients. And we hope that the webinar is going to be about 20 minutes, and then we'll reserve some time for questions. Today, we have Kirk Kinder as our special guest, and he's going to be speaking with us. He's a certified financial planner, and he has offices in both the state of Maryland and in Tampa Bay, Florida. And I've known Kirk for a long time. His company's name is Picket Fence Financial, and he offers financial planning services to his clients. Kirk, that is, has been featured in the Wall Street Journal. He's been featured in the Kiplinger Report, as well as Smart Money and other media outlets. So we're really happy to have him with us today, and I welcome Kirk. Say hello, please.
Hi, Howard. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And one of the things I wanted to ask you today is, how cold is it up there where you are today?
Oh, yeah, I think we're going to hit a high of 15 degrees today. So we're getting a little bit of a warm spell compared to what we've had previously.
Well, I know we have a couple listeners that are in a cold area too, so we'll try to warm you up with all your great information that you're going to provide for us today. We're going to be speaking about New Year's resolutions, and one New Year resolution that always seems to be popular is getting your financial act together, get it in order. And I'm sure you hear about this resolution all the time from your friends and family and others. So Kirk, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you would suggest in terms of New Year resolutions when it comes to financial planning?
Yeah, the first thing that's interesting is next to losing weight, money is the second most popular New Year's resolution for people. So, first people want to obviously, shed some of the holiday pounds, but then everybody is kind of worried about their money. And the biggest reason that New Year's resolutions fail is people focus on behaviors and not beliefs. And what I mean by that, if you're going to try to lose weight, a lot of people, they instantly, they eat vegetables and fruits, and they try to cut out all the pizza and, all the good stuff you enjoy eating. Well, the problem is if you do something like that, then you're only focused on taking away what was good, and now you're eating what you kind of deem as, not good as far as taste and things along those lines. So that doesn't last long, because what you've done is you replace pleasure with pain. Same with money. So if somebody wants to get out of debt, first thing they do, they stop going to the movies. They may not go shopping as much. They don't go out to eat. They take away a lot of things that they saw as pleasurable, and now they've kind of replaced them with painful things. So they're just focused on the behaviors, thinking that somehow their willpower can overtake their behavioral response, and whether it's weight or money. What you need to do is focus more on your beliefs. And what I mean by that is you have to have an idea, a belief of who you want to be. So again, going back to diet, if you want to, if you weigh 180 pounds and you want to weigh 160, you have to visualize that 160-pound you. And you have to believe that that is who you are, and you have to conduct your actions to fit your beliefs. So then it's not as hard to stay away from that ice cream, or maybe throw in a few more salads during the week rather than hamburgers, because you're focused on who you want to be, who you believe you are. Same thing with the money. So if your current financial world is in complete disrepair, or it's unorganized, or you're in debt, whatever it be, you just have to focus on who you want to be, who you believe you can be. So when you focus on your beliefs and not just the behaviors, it gets to be a lot easier to actually fulfill your New Year's resolutions.
Well, do you have some steps for us to consider in terms of identifying the pain?
Yeah, so for everything, again, it goes back to whatever your resolution is, diet, finances, identify what's really bothering you the most. So if in your financial life, maybe it is getting out of debt, or maybe it's just trying to get organized, get everything, in one spot, trying to really understand where you are financially. Maybe it's really figuring out, am I going to be able to achieve my financial goals? Am I really on track for it? So find out what is that pain that you have. Identify it very specifically, what you want to do. And that's usually the first step that you need to take.
And tell us about the second step you're going to have. I think you refer to it as visualization, or visualizing what you want and how to get there.
Yeah, so the visualization is essentially what I was talking about before with beliefs. So once you kind of identify the pain, then you need to start to visualize what would be different in your life in order to actually take away that pain. What's that look like? And again, that gets back to what your beliefs are. So once you kind of define what your belief is, okay, I'm going to be 160 pounds and fit, or I'm going to have my financial life in order, and I'm going to be making the most productive use of my money. I'm going to have everything organized, my financial life. You have to start to visualize what that's going to look like, because again, what that'll do is it'll change your behaviors because you're changing your beliefs. So that's really the second step.
And then you're going to get in your third step about goals, and there's probably, I wish I had $1 for every word that was written on the subject of setting goals. But what type of financial goals, or tell us what you mean by setting the goals in some specific, if you can be specific about it, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So what you want to do is, figure out what your pain is, visualize what you would like yourself to be, and then you have to start to set the goals. And the second reason that so many resolutions fail, obviously the first one is you're taking pleasurable actions and turning them into painful actions. Well, the second reason is because people are very generic about what their goals are. So again, talking about weight loss, they might say, I want to lose weight. Well, that really is, it's really kind of opaque. You don't know exactly what you're going to do. On the financial life, it could just be, I just want to get my affairs in order. Well, what does that mean? There's a million different things you can do to really improve your financial life. What specifically do you want? So like everything, like you said, there are a million ways to set goals out there, but the acronym SMART has always been probably the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. And SMART, again, you're looking, first off, you want to be very specific in what you want to achieve. So here it could be, all right, I need to get my financial life in order. And what that entails is I want to understand what my monthly budget is. I want to understand if I'm on track for retirement. I want to understand if I'm going to be able to pay for my college education. I want to ensure that my estate plan is in place, that if something happens to me. So be very specific in what you're looking to do. And then as far as the M in the SMART, it's measurable. So you have to be able to say, okay, well, this is my specific goal. How can I measure it? So obviously, if your goal is to go from 180 pounds to 160, you can measure that. With financial issues, it could be a little bit more daunting, but the thing is you can still make it very measurable. Okay, well, I want to have my financial house in order. So what steps is it going to take to do that? Well, the first thing could be, again, figure out what my budget is every month. What am I spending? Okay, so that's, you can measure that. You can start to understand if you're getting to the point where you know exactly what that is. Same with the estate plan. Okay, what does that really entail? Well, I'm going to have a will or maybe a trust set up. I'm going to have to ensure that I have beneficiary designations in all of my different IRAs and annuities and all the documents like that. I'm going to have my home titled appropriately. Everything like that, you can start to understand what the steps are going to be for that, and then you can actually measure that. And the next thing, the A in the SMART, is it achievable? So if you weigh 300 pounds and you want to get to 160 in 2014, well, maybe that's not necessarily an achievable goal. That's pretty daunting and enormous. So you want to make sure that what you're looking to do would be achievable. If you have $100,000 in credit card debt and you only make $30,000 a year, you're probably not going to be able to pay that off in the first year. So you have to ensure that what you're doing is also something that's realistic, which is the next one, the R in the SMART, is realistic. So you have to kind of figure out, once you can get a specific measurable goal, is it realistic? Am I going to be able to have enough money if paying off debt is your goal? Am I going to have enough? Can I find that in order to pay it off? How much can it be? And then the T is, again, we're looking at something that's time tested. So you have to be able to put time to it. And this is kind of probably one of the more difficult things for when we start our resolutions. We want to have everything moving by the time January comes, and usually that's just not the case. That's another reason why so many people fail on the resolutions, that by the end of the first month, they haven't seen the size that they've wanted, the sizable gains, and whatever their goal is, so then they just lose motivation. So, in this situation, what you might want to do is kind of take a look and break things up into smaller pieces. And that's kind of the next step that we're talking about here.
The baby steps?
You need to take baby steps with these goals. So let's take the example, somebody wants to get their financial house in order. They're doing okay financially. They're putting food on the table. They're not worried about money, but yet they kind of feel that everything's sort of scattered. They have accounts everywhere. They're not really sure what they're paying for their investments. They're not sure if their estate plan's in place. They're not sure if they're getting all the tax savings they could on their tax return. Well, that again, that's a pretty daunting task to kind of take care of all these things. So again, what you're going to really want to do is kind of have that vision. Okay, what's it going to look like when I'm done? Well, I'm going to have everything. I'm going to feel like I have everything in place in order to attain my financial goals. And if something happens to me, that's everything's taken care of. So then, how do you start to measure that? Well, okay, now we have to start to measure it, and we have to break it up so that we can do it in the time that we want. So maybe we want to do it for 2014. So you need to break it up in baby steps. And again, it goes back to identifying the pain. What's the most painful part? So a lot of people, it could just be, I just don't know. I've got accounts here. I've got accounts there. I don't have a complete picture. So that maybe the first step is, okay, let's start to consolidate accounts. I've got an IRA over at Fidelity. I have an IRA at Schwab. Let's combine them into one. I've got 4 different bank accounts because I'm trying to get the high CD at different banks, and let's just consolidate it. So now you're taking, maybe the first step is just to get everything consolidated, so you have a little bit better picture, a little bit easier to manage. And then you say, well, okay, I really want to understand what my monthly budget is. Well, the only way you're going to do that is to start to actually track your expenses. And what I always recommend for clients, the easiest tool out there to do this is called Mint.com, MINT.com. This is actually a free application that's owned by Quicken, and what it does is it allows you to give Mint your username and password for various your brokerage accounts, credit cards, your mortgage, everything, all your financial accounts. And it's extremely safe and secure. They use the 128-bit encryption, so it's just as good as Department of Defense. But what it does is it's called a screen scraping technology. So it pulls over, it scrapes the screen that it sees, meaning it pulls over the data and just presents it to you. And what's beautiful about it is it will categorize different expenses for you. So if you see something at McDonald's, it instantly knows, hey, this is dining out. Or Regal Cinemas, it'll know, okay, that's the movie theaters. So it will basically kind of do the work for you for the budget. You just have to go in and tweak it in case it miscategorizes an expense. So, maybe that's the next step that you would do, is to really get an understanding of what your budget is. And then third, what you might want to do is understand, okay, well, these are my goals. I want to retire at age 65. Now that I know my budget, I'm going to need $6,000 a month to live on. So now you can start to really build that to see if you're going to meet that goal of retirement or whatever goals you have. Maybe it's, again, college education. Maybe it's buying a new boat, whatever it is. At that point, then you start to step into your goals and see if you're on track for them. If you're not, you can start to figure out what you have to do to get there. Then maybe the next step is, now that you kind of have everything sort of consolidated and organized, you know what your budget is, you kind of understand what you have to do to reach your goals. Well, now you may take the next step and look at estate planning. So, you could break it down. You do one of them for each quarter. You do one of them for each month. Whatever you feel you can do and you can handle, that's realistic for you. So then you get together with a good estate planning attorney, and I'm happen to be talking to one right now, and you kind of just review your estate plan. What are the gaps with that? Maybe you have a will from 1982, and you have to update that. So that, again, that's kind of getting your house in order. And you can do it, again, as I said, over time, so you don't have to do everything all at once. That makes it, people tend to succeed a lot more with their goals if they take these little baby steps. And then
Go ahead.
The last thing we kind of talk about is to realize that you're not going to have a straight shot to success. Nothing in life is linear like that. So whether it's trying to lose 25 pounds, maybe it's trying to get your financial life in order, maybe it's trying to get out of debt, you're going to have periods where it doesn't go according to plan. Maybe you end up hitting a plateau with your weight loss, and you just seem like no matter what you're doing, you can't get rid of a few pounds. Or with weight loss, maybe you end up having some birthday affairs and things like that, where you're eating more chocolate cake than you are salads. With your financial life, there could be a multitude of things that happen. If you're trying to get out of debt, maybe your car goes, the transmission of your car goes, and you have to spend $1,000, $1,500 to repair it. So you just have to realize that it's not going to be a straight shot, that you're going to have setbacks no matter what your resolutions are or your goals. You just have to keep plugging away, keep working at it, and you might have to modify some of your SMART goals, especially the timetable if things pop up, but just keep working on it. Keep visualizing what it's going to look like when you're finally there and you've achieved what you're hoping to achieve.
Kirk, one thing I wanted to add is in this review, when you're looking at things, folks, insurance is something that should be reviewed at least annually. And part of estate planning and part of financial planning is preserving what you have. And you've been talking about that all along. Part of it's preserving what you have and building up equity. And by insurance, I mean making sure you have the proper automobile insurance. Maybe you need an umbrella policy, long-term care insurance. There's all kinds of insurances, as we know, and there needs to be a review of that to determine whether you have too much, not enough, or it's correct, but you got the wrong names, you don't have a beneficiary designation. All those things should be reviewed to make certain that there's no deficiency there. And maybe one last thing on that, and I have found in settling estates, don't think that the insurance company will necessarily provide a true copy of the life insurance policy or whatever policy we're talking about and the beneficiary designation. I have dealt with more than one insurance company when a person's passed away and they said they did not have a copy of the beneficiary designation, and the person who was settling the estate couldn't find it. So what does that mean? That means that that money, instead of going into a trust or going directly to a beneficiary, would go through the probate process. So when you're looking through these New Year's resolutions, I would add one on there to review, maybe not tomorrow, but like say every April, right after tax day, say do it on April 20th or something like that, where you sit with your insurance agent and you review and make sure that everything's what you want it to be, and if it's not, make those changes. I want to make sure everybody knows. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Howard. I agree with you 100% on that. So, you know, that could be an additional step to getting your finances in order. So,
and by the way, that doesn't cost anything. Well, it might cost something if you decide to add insurance for premiums, but it doesn't cost anything to review it, other than it is an expenditure of time. But I found that the first time I did it, it took quite a while. It took, with my agent, it took about an hour and a half. You know, we got down to the point where we would do it once a year. It's like 20 minutes, and we're done, because we're doing it every year. And so the first time, yeah, a little bit more, but compared to maybe paying off a huge debt or something, it's not nearly as arduous. I find that to be, and if you've got a nice insurance agent, maybe you can do it over lunch, or you know, you can do it in a way that's as pleasant as possible.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, oftentimes you can find you can save a lot of money in reviewing your insurances. All the various insurances out there, for instance, you know, auto and home, you could probably get a lower price if you review it with an independent agent who can shop different companies. Life insurance is another one. With people living longer, the mortality tables are set such that sometimes you can get an insurance policy cheaper today than you got a policy even 10 years ago. Even though you're 10 years older, you might still find that you can save money on that and still have ample coverage. So I completely agree with you on that point, Howard.
Yeah, and I find that if a person's house is in order, if they do become incapacitated, they pass away, you know, they're talking about everyone that's ever come in my office, one of their major objectives is to get as much money as they possibly can to their loved ones when they're gone. Well, if you've got to spend an inordinate amount of time of figuring out what in the world is going on in the person's estate, that costs money to do. If it costs money to do, that's that much less that's going to go to the loved ones. So it really is a big act of love, I think, and I'm being serious too, that you don't have much of a choice when you come into the world. You just, you know, you're here, but you do have a choice in how you go out. You can go out leaving a mess and everybody mumbling, or you can go out saying, boy, this guy was really organized and he looked out for us, and you know, you'll be held in wide esteem. And I think that's a wonderful thing to leave your family. So, and if you've never been in it, if our listeners have never settled an estate before, they may not be able to relate to that, but people who have been involved in estate settlements certainly know what I mean. Thank you, Kirk, for, and I wanted to mention to people, if they have questions, type them right out on the screen, and we'll try to respond to those. If anybody does have any questions, by all means, you know, type away. And because we have a few more minutes, I think, Kirk, your presentation is over. I don't have much to add to this, what you've already added, and I have supplemented. And I just wanted to make sure if there was anybody that had a question, we could respond to it. And to the attendees, if there's anybody that wants to ask a question, please do. We still have time, and there's a method by which to do that. Kirk, do you have anything further to add?
No, I think you know, the big thing, these resolutions are all very individual, so you have to decide for yourself what you want to do. But again, the big thing is to don't focus on the behaviors. You know, don't say, okay, this is what I want, and then take away pleasurable activities with painful ones. You want to make sure you focus on the end result. Visualize exactly how you want to look when you hit that goal, and then when you start to figure out what do I have to do to get there, make sure you have SMART goals. Make sure they're very specific, they're very measurable, you have very realistic goals, and that they can be time tested. So that's really the big thing. If you do that, you're going to see some success.
And I'll add one more thing, and then if I don't see any other questions here, we'll go ahead and end our webinar. But one other thing I wanted to mention, in looking at these resolutions that someone might make at the beginning of the year, or any time of the year for that matter, if a person has legal entities because they own rental property, as an example, they have a corporation that they run their dry cleaning store out of, or whatever it happens to be. So often what we find is that there's no minutes, there's no bylaws, there's really nothing except the articles of incorporation that were filed 12 years ago. So speak with your attorney and get those updated. There's also other financial things that could, if you're in business or you know someone that is in business, there's things that you might want to take a look at in terms of maybe opening up a simple pension plan for the employees, as an example, or maybe your company already has that and you'd like to start participating in it. But I see so many legal entities that when they come in to do estate planning, one of the things we check is if they have these legal entities, that we look over their corporate records or their limited liability company, whatever it happens to be, to see if everything's in order. And about 8 times out of 10, it isn't. So that might be one other thing to put on your list if you happen to own something like that, or if you think you might in the near future. Well, Kirk, thank you very much for helping us today by giving these good ideas. It's a good reminder to me, too. I have my insurance review scheduled for right after tax day on April 15th, and I encourage everybody to do the same. Sometime during the year, do sit down with your insurance agent. I don't sell insurance, by the way, so this isn't a plug for me selling you an insurance policy. Again, Kirk, thank you very much. I don't see that there's any other questions here from anyone, so I'll just end the webinar by saying thank you very much to all of our attendees. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.